Okay, so now for those of you that log in early, as usual, we have our, you know, brain teaser, right? I try to make it a routine to have that brain teaser every single Sunday, right? So let's take a quick look at it. Let's look at the first one right there. So that's it right there. And this is with the Windows hack, right? The hack that we did. And it is basically saying that during the Windows password hack, after interrupting the boot process, right? That's the first part. And then the second part, we know that this was the part that we were able to go make changes to the utilman.exe file, right? And after all of this, then we got to the next phase, right? We got to the next phase, and now it's asking us, what will I enter to reset the password of user 17? What will I enter to reset the password?
Net user,
User 27.
net user,
User 27.
username space password. That's what.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So it will be net user, right? Net user what?
User
27.
Net user
User 27.
27, and then the password, right? School 1. So that will be it, right? That will be it. Net user user 27 school 1. And why are we using user 27? Why are we using user 27 instead of the other one?
Because it's the account that we're trying to.
Because that's exactly the same account that's the account that we were told to reset. Now let's go ahead and type the password. That's the user account that we were authorized to reset. So again, this is it, just like it's in the video. So we're gonna click on where do I click? Right here. Ease of access right here. So I click on ease of access, and I'll go right in here. And what's that command again, folks?
Net user. User
27. And the password that you want to use.
Exactly. User 27, and I'm just gonna do school 1. And press enter, and it says the command completed successfully. So what?
So you typed school wrong.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we type it different. Okay, let's just remember this password right here. So we don't forget SCCHOL1. All right, let's remember that. SCC. Okay, let me just change it. I will just change it again. Just hopefully. So school 1 right there. So yeah, what do I do now at this point?
Restart.
Well, I have to restart the system, so I'm just gonna go right here, do a restart, and it's coming up. Right, so I'm just restarting it. Basically, let's wait for it to restart, and you can see it restarting, and then we will go try to log in. I think you guys are really dangerous right now. You know, knowing what you know, right? So school 1, and let's see if we're gonna get in. Right, there you go. We just hacked into the system. Now don't mess with anybody from class 27. You guys are dangerous. And you know, you guys are the first session to basically be able to hack into Windows systems like this. So if you have a mentor, he might not understand what you're saying when you start telling him about things like this. He might say, well, I tell you what, let me learn from you instead.
Very correct, sir. You are very, very correct. My mentor does not know.
There you go. And you guys will learn a lot more. You guys will do, just hang on. So you guys will do a little bit of cybersecurity, which will, you know, just bear with your mentors if they cannot help you on things like that. Because again, they did not do cybersecurity, and so some of your some of your videos, some of the videos like this videos right here, I am sending it to the other class so they can watch it, like the password reset video. And we're gonna also look at the cybersecurity. When you guys get into that cybersecurity side of things, we will call it network and system security, and they will also get it. All right, so at this point, let's look at the next one, right? The next one, you guys just did the hack. Now let's see what else we have next. So right here, right, that's the next one right there. So now, what is this device used for? What is this device used for?
CPU fan.
CPU fan to cool the CPU down.
CPU fan.
Used to cool systems, especially servers.
Well, you say
PCI video card.
there you go. This right here is a PCI graphic or display card, right? Remember, it says it right there even before. Now, if I roll the video again, you see what it says right there? Display adapter graphic card. You see that? It already tells you. So now the reason I wanted us to look at this again is because just recently my daughter, working from home, had you know, they wanted her at work to do some work on this, and I tried to set this part of it so that you understand what exactly she did. She was able to successfully get things rolling, but I wanted you to understand what this graphic card is, because they started talking to her about the graphic card and knowing that she will understand what they were talking about. Thank God she and I had gone over this, and in their own class they did as well. And she was able to do that because it was in a meeting and it was unexpected. They just started talking to her about it, and if she did not have a clue, then that would look really bad, because it was a meeting with her and then the client was there. So now let's take a look at this again, right? So again, let's see what we're supposed to do now. So we already know that this right here is a graphic card, right? So it already says that. What is this device used for? We know it's a graphic card. And what is it used for? It could be a graphic card or graphic adapter or controller. Now, what is it used for?
The display adapter in the monitor.
Well, it is used, right? Used to display, right? It is used to display images, right? Images from a system or PC to the monitor. So again, it is used to display images from your system to the monitor. So again, let me show you another image of a graphic card right here. Now you can see right here, this is a picture of a graphic card, right? So that's a picture of a graphic card. You can see the fan right there. Now the reason that graphic card has, now who can tell me why there's a fan right there on the graphic card though?
Because it has a processor.
Because this graphic card has a processor in it, and the processor sits underneath of this graphic card. And this fan cools down the processor, right? The fan cools down the processor, and this processor comes with RAM, right? This card comes with its own RAM. Now, if you look at the back of it, this one has what? What ports are those?
GVI 6.
Well, we have HDMI and what? This is DVI dual link, right? Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about this card, because this is it's very, very important. I want us to talk a little bit about it. Now, if we look at if we were to compare that with the one that you have on that system, you can, the one that you just saw, it is not the specs. It has a smaller spec than the one you're seeing right here. So this one, it's a little bit. So the one on the left in the picture, you will spend more money to get that one. And again, graphic cards come with different RAM. some of them, it goes from 512 megabytes to about 8 gigs of RAM and has a processor. So this card has the processor itself, right? If you ever look at graphic cards, the processor is called a GPU, right? That's how it is. You're gonna write this down, GPU, and which stands for Graphics Processing Unit, which is similar to a CPU, right? It is very similar to a CPU, but it stands for Graphic Processing Unit. So which just means it basically gets information from the CPU and then it uses its own processor to process it. And the reason you have cards like this is because sometimes when like you have people that are gamers, right? For folks that are gamers and those that play and those that do a lot of graphic graphic design and video editing, like 4K video editing, 8K video editing, regular graphic cards that come with your system cannot handle that amount of information. When the video has a high pixel and it is a fast-paced video, or it's a huge graphical file like 8K videos, it becomes really cumbersome for standard CPUs to process it, and that will drain system resources and slow down the speed of the system. So that's why you have graphic cards like this that comes with their own processor and RAM that are used to do things like that. Again, if somebody wants to play a 3D game, if they use their regular graphic card, first of all, the image quality will be terrible, and then the game will be freezing, and they will have all kinds of issues with it. But once you use a graphic card like this, everything runs pretty well because of its own processor, the processor that's in it. Now, there are two types of graphic cards like this, right? I just wanted to go a little bit further into things like this because of what I heard my daughter's employer saying the other day to her, and she was able to she did very well and answer the questions, but I thought I should go a little bit further and give you more information. So types of graphic cards or adapters, right, if you want. All right, so we have the first one that we look at is what we call the integrated. So the integrated graphic card, right? Integrated graphic card. This type of card is what you have in your system, right? This comes inbuilt. It is built into your system directly. It's built into the system. What you all have right now is, you guys all have integrated graphic cards, integrated. So every one of you have integrated graphic cards built into the system. And then the second type, which is, it's called a discrete graphic card, right? All right, so this is discrete. That's a D-I-S-C-R-E-T-E, discrete. So the first one, this is inbuilt. So that's inbuilt. Inbuilt means it comes with your system. And this right here is third party. Now, what's the difference between the inbuilt and third party, folks? Who can tell me?
Third party is it comes from somewhere else.
Well, which means
Manufacturer, as opposed to
it's a part that comes from somewhere else.
Okay, well, so third party just means it did not come with the system. Somebody added it. Now, the graphic card that I just showed you, let me go ahead and just show you again. So if you see this graphic card right here, right? This right. Which one is this? Is this integrated or discrete?
Discrete.
This is discrete. And then how about this one right here? The sorry, this one.
Integrated.
Sorry, right. This is this. That's what type of card is this though?
VGA.
This is a 15-pin VGA port, and this is integrated because it's hardwired to the motherboard. So if I were to install this other one, right? Let's say I was to hook it up to this motherboard, and there's a slot right here. We're going to look at the slot, right? We're going to talk about it. And if I was to add this today, then I just added what type of card to the system again, folks?
Discrete.
I added a discrete card to the motherboard. We have two types of cards. We have the integrated card that graphic card that comes with your system, and then we have the discrete card that is third party. And the discrete card usually is designed with its own CPU. And what's the CPU of the discrete card called again, folks? It's called a GPU. And what does GPU? GPU stands for graphics processing unit. It stands for graphics processing unit, and that's how it is, right? You can see right there, it stands for graphic processing unit. And so now let's talk about let's keep going. I think we will go back, and I'll give you even more information about this since you know the different types. Now let's look at the next one, right? The next one right here. Let's look at it. So identify the ports on the card. Identify the ports on the card.
DVI, display port,
HDMI,
we have HDMI.
Okay. Well, that's right.
We have a display port.
and display ports.
Absolutely right. So if we're to look at that right there, so we have let me just go back. So we have we have a DVI port. Now, what type of DVI is that?
DVI.
All right, let's go right in there and see what we got.
DVI dual link.
All right, so this is a DVI dual link, right? That's a DVI dual link. And how about the ports now, starting from the bottom left? Bottom left, what do we have?
Display port.
That looks like a display port to me. How many display ports do we have there?
3 of them.
Okay, we got 3 display ports. And then what's the last one on the external? HDMI. So again, this one, right? This is DVI dual link. So that's dual link right there. And so we have, this is the display port, which this is how you will see it represented all the time. Even if when you look at advertisements, they will just call it DP, which is display port. And so then you have, this is so let's see, so this one here is HDMI right there. And if most graphic cards come like this nowadays, right? Most of them come like this. So be prepared to answer like at work. Be prepared to look at the back of your server and be able to talk about ports like this, and you should be able to talk about the ports in detail. This week I saw my daughter did a great job talking about the ports because they had some questions for her, and she did pretty well. And I was just thinking about you guys since we're already in hardware, and I was like, man, I should take it a little bit further. And I'm taking one notch up now from where she ended. Right, so which means now you have more knowledge about this card than she does, than the graphic card. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the next one, right? Let's look at the next one. And so that's that. What is the difference, right? What is the difference between the top ports, the top port and the bottom ports?
Top port has things.
One
The top
display
port
only
doesn't display
image, and
audio,
one display
then
image and
the
audio.
bottom port displays audio.
Okay, so the top one, we know that's DVI-D dual link, and DVI-D dual link will display what? It display video only, right? And then all of the ports at the bottom, the display port and HDMI, will display video and audio. So that is the difference, right? That is the difference. So this one right here, this will just display video only. Now, what's the quality of the video that will be displayed? Is it HD?
High quality.
High definition, right? And when we talk about high definition, what pixels are we talking about right here?
720 and above.
720 and up. And we all know that this, all of this, right? All of them will display what? Video, right? Plus what? Audio. So that is that. You guys are doing pretty well. Amazingly great. So let's look at the next one. We're almost there. Let's look at the next one. And so the next one is this one right here. Now these are the specs, right? Those are the specs. And this information, I pulled this information from Amazon for that card, right? That card. And I have a card that looks like that. And I pulled that information directly from Amazon. So looking at the specs, now let's take a better look at it. Now, so these are the specs as it is, right? So you will see it says, what slot on the motherboard will you insert this card into? What slot, folks?
PCI slot.
PCIe.
It's PCIe. It says it right there, PCIe, and you can see this is the specific type of PCI. Now remember, like I said, I'm going to take this one notch further with you guys so that you can understand the different types of PCI slots. Now there are different types of PCI slots in the system, and you can see that you'll be connecting it to a PCI slot, but specifically it's designed for something called a PCIe, which E stands for Express, right? PCIe X8, right? So we have information in week 7 in your class website. And these are the different PCI slots in the system, right? You can see on the motherboard on the left side, you have a motherboard. And you look, what you pay attention to the slots. This is the slot. Sometimes they call this expansion slots. So you have PCIe expansion slots. Now, if you notice, this is standard PCI slots right here. Now, what does PCI stand for, folks?
Peripheral component interconnect.
Peripheral component interconnect. Now, so this is a standard PCI slot. So you should be able to look at the motherboard of your server at work and be able to figure out which one is a PCI slot. You can see this is it. Then look right here, we have a PCI Express 8 slot, which looks a little bit different. You can see how things are shaped. Then this is a PCI X4. This is it. PCI X1. This is very popular. They got 2 of them right here. And then we have this PCI X thing, which is also very popular. And these are the different slots. Now remember, let me go back to the card right there. Now, what port, again, what PCIe slot will be able to take this card right here? X8. You see that? X8, right? X8. And if we go back again to your system, that's it. So which means that that card is designed to fit on this slot right here. The card is designed to fit on this slot. So now if we take a look at, if we look at this, you can see that that card, this is really how the pins look like on the card. This is how it's set up. It's set up a PCI X8 and you can see that, which means it will sit right on here. But now let's look at more information. Now this is some more information about the slots, right? Now it just says that a PCI X1 card, right? So I'm talking about this card right here, this one, can be inserted correctly in all of these slots right here. It will work. You can see that can be. So this card right here, if you have a card that looks like this, which is an X1 card, it can be inserted here. It can be inserted here, right? If you notice, it has just the 7 pin, and it will fit here just fine. But it will also fit here, because you can see right here, it will fit here, but though it will end just here, but it will still be able to fit. It will be able to fit here. It will be able to fit here. And from what they say here, right, can it fit on a standard PCI slot? No, it cannot. So it will not fit on a you can already see the shape of the PCI slot that doesn't work, and you can see the rest of them. So if it was a PCI X16 card, X16 just like this one, it can only fit on an X16 slot, this one right here. Right. Just want you to take a quick look at this. All right, so knowing what you know, right, what kind of slot is this?
That is a standard PCI.
This is standard PCI. Now, it says right there on the board. Can you read that? I don't think you can. Well, let me tilt a little bit. Can you read? Can you see what is written in white?
Yes.
PCI, you see that? Now, look at the smaller one right here. What does it say? Let me tilt it. Oh,
PCI X1.
Yes, X1. And how about this one?
X1.
That's an X1 as well. And how about this?
PCI 16.
X16.
That is 16. That's X16 right there. You can see right there. And if you look at this card right here, what slot? What kind of PCI is that, folks?
X16.
X16, which will fit into this slot right here. Isn't that true?
Yes.
There you go. See, it fits right there, and you can see the other side. So it fits right there. So again, each slot, right? Each slot has a different speed, right? The slots have their different speeds, and let me show you what I'm talking about as far as speed is concerned. You can see right there, that's a chart of the speed of the different slots right there. So you can see right here, and each slot, you know, the slots were updated each year, like in different years, not each year. But now when it came out, right, it was version 1, right, for the slot. So 2003, that's when it came out, version 1, and you can see the speeds for the different types. 250 megabytes per second. I'm talking about version 1. This is for the X1 slot. And you can see right there, it was fast. I mean, that speed, it's not still considered slow, though for today's technology, that might be considered slow. And so you can see now, as we move up the years, the speeds, the new motherboards that were built in these different years came with faster slots. This is how fast data travels through that slot into the card, or from the card to the motherboard to the RAM. So if data is moving from RAM into the card, this is the speed that it travels. If data is moving from that PCI card through the slot on the motherboard into RAM, it travels at the speed. So this is where we are right here. This is where we're at. Now this is what they are anticipating or projecting for 2021 right here. But that's where we are at right now. So this came out in 2019, and most of the motherboards are still the same. So 2020, that's where we are. That's really high speed. That's 3 gigabytes per second. We got for X2, which X2 is not as common. They will have X1, and it's very rare to see X2. Then they have X4, X8, you can see right there, and X16. Today X16 is really fast. 63, not gigabits, gigabytes per second. And this is what they're anticipating next year, right? It will be more than double the speed right there. So that's what they're anticipating next year. So 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032, 2033, 2034, 2035, 2036, 2037, 2038, 2039, 2040, 2041, 2042, 2043, 2044, 2045, 2046, 2047, 2048, 2049, 2050, 2051, 2052, 2053, 2054, 2055, 2056, 2057, 2058, 2059, 2060, 2061, 2062, 2063, 2064, 2065, 2066, 2067, 2068, 2069, 2070, 2071, 2072, 2073, 2074, 2075, 2076, 2077, 2078, 2079, 2080, 2081, 2082, 2083, 2084, 2085, 2086, 2087, 2088, 2089, 2090, 2091, 2092, 2093, 2094, 2095, 2096, 2097, 2098, 2099, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 20 So computer technology is evolving at a very fast rate, very, very fast rate. And you guys are at the center of the whole thing, right? You guys are at the center of technology. Then let's go back to our question right there. Let's go back to the question. So we talked about the slots already, right? Now, what is the vendor of this card? AMD, and it says it right there. You can see right there, it's AMD. AMD, what does AMD stand for again, folks?
Advanced Micro Devices.
Advanced Micro Device. Advanced Micro Device. Now, sometimes they'll say devices. Advanced Micro Device. That's a company. It's the name of a company that's responsible for building graphic cards and CPUs, motherboards, and all that. So Advanced Micro Device. So this is AMD is a very popular card, right? So you will have the AMD. This is the AMD Radeon. So usually nowadays AMD and another company called NVIDIA are the companies that are building graphic cards today. These are the popular ones. So and again, for people that are gamers, they most of them they will swear by the brands, right? I have a lot of AMD stuff and I have NVIDIA, but I've seen that AMD graphic cards are really good. So it says, how would you update the drivers of this card from within? I think we missed something here. It was supposed to be within the operating system. So how will you update the driver of this card from within the operating system? So where will you go to go upgrade the driver of this card from within your operating system, folks?
Website of the carrier.
Well, you will go to the device manager. Now, I don't have an AMD Radeon card in mine. I think I have an NVIDIA. Let's go check it out, and I'll show you how it looks like. And I just upgraded my driver today. So I will go to device manager. And how do I go to device manager, folks? I click on the Windows Start button, right? There are tons of ways to go to device manager, but the easiest is right click on what? The Windows Start button and select what? Device manager right here. So we select device manager. And where do I go from here, folks?
Display adapter.
Display adapters, and you can see I have two adapters. If you noticed, my integrated, this is the integrated one, right? My integrated adapter graphic card is from what? Intel. Intel has, this is the one which is a smaller card. It doesn't have as much, you know, RAM and CPU. This is the discrete one that I have. So I use this discrete one for everything, right? In fact, the images you're seeing right now show up on this screen is coming from the discrete card right here, this one. Because this one has a better resolution. It has more RAM, it has more CPU. In fact, this card has 6 gigs of RAM on it. And the GPU speed is really fast as compared to this one. The inbuilt one has about 2 gigs of RAM, right? And it's not as fast, not as good in processing, you know, information or signals as this one. So you can see now, how do I update my driver if I was to update my driver for any of the cards? Let's say I want to update my, right click on it and then do what? Right click and select update drivers right there, and then just do search, right? So you search. Now if there's drivers out there or updated drivers that are better than the one you already have, it will come back you will see it installing it. But if we don't have drivers, it comes back saying that the best driver for your system, for your device, has already been installed. So really, that's that, you know. So we all should know how to update drivers. This is the standard way to do it. But again, if we go back to our screen, now you can see right here that it says there, look for software updates about this card from the vendor's website. How do I do that? How do I do that, folks?
You go to the support page of AMD.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.